Recipes. Today we are joined by a remarkable pastry chef who has spent 18 years in the culinary field and to go for specializing in pastry. Known for being humble, selfless, passionate, in this craft he brings not only skills but also a heart into the kitchen. Today we explore his journey, what inspired him, and where his passion of pastry is taking him. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to tell me about your journey in the kitchen, how it has begun.
Well, my journey started maybe in high school, in Pastry High School, 2005-2006. Because after your O levels, we didn't complete them. You had an alternative to do like practicals. They were called pediments in high school, mainly private schools. So then an option to do food and culinary arts. So while people were doing A levels, I was doing that with those students. So during that time, I learned a bit, got the basics, and then from there, I came to Cape Town in 2007. I didn't start pastry until 2014, so I spent a good few years, at least 7 years, honing my skills within every part of the kitchen. And yeah, so that's, I think I found a love for pastry, I think 2014, based on an incident that happened. Some people didn't order enough burger buns and burger patties, and I knew how to make both. So from there, I started to explore the pastry section even more. So that's where the building blocks started.
But before pastry, before you do pastry, because remember it's been 18 years,
Yeah.
I would like to know what made you fall in love with the culinary industry.
I think I just got it from my parents, because my father was more of the experimental, he did the roasting, the pies, the stews, whereas my mother did the baking. So I grew up in that kind of middle income suburban family where we used to, like doing lunches, doing fancy things for visitors, so I was always around that. So I picked up on both of their skills, and when the time came to actually try something as a trade, they put it forward as an option because I was passionate about cooking and always trying stuff in the kitchen. So that's where the passion started. And then I started a 3-year traineeship under International Hotel School at the Peninsula Hotel.
So I'd like to know, how did you feel when you made your first pastry dessert?
My first pastry dessert, I can say my first ever clutch as a pastry chef creating dishes was in 2012, December 2012. I was at the Madikwe Lodge, I was way up there, and they were looking for pastry chefs to assist. So I got in there, met this head chef, let's get some dishes I've done before, I got recipes. Because I was eager to just try these recipes I've been looking at, I've been doing at home, here and there. And it's okay, cool. We've got a New Year's Eve menu, go crazy. So my first ever dessert was a coffee parfait. It's like a set version of an ice cream with chocolate sauce and a chocolate brownie. It was a plated dish for like 50 guests. That was my first ever plated dessert. And from there it was, I didn't look back. That was December 2012.
That was way back. So I would like to also know, what do you think people misunderstand the pastry chefs about? Like, okay, how do I put it?
Misconceptions.
I could say that, but what I would like to know the misunderstandings that people took, because you as a pastry chef, you know, you do with those desserts and all that. So how do you define a pastry chef, if I may say?
I think one of the misconceptions, a lot of people feel like it's a session that's not to be taken seriously because the main sections, the hot section, the salad section, they're the ones that get the shine. And the pastries always come at the back end. But I always found that pastry isn't just using sugar. Like sweetness, it's about balancing sweetness, and understanding that sweetness doesn't just come from sugar. It comes from even fruit and all these other elements. And you're adding textures, salty textures, spicy textures, different textures that are just not sweet related. So you're just taking all these bits of elements and textures and flavors with the sweet element being in the middle. And that's what pretty much what pastry is. It's just it's somebody that knows how to balance sweetness. Because if you have a plate and it's like someone taught me, a head chef taught me that, listen, when you create a dish, a pastry dish, look for the sweetest item, right, and work around it. Because if you have 5 elements and they're all sweet, you won't finish because it's too sweet. So you take an item like a fruit, the fruit is really sweet. So how can I utilize that sweetness and have other elements to balance it around that kind of like fruit or element, whatever it is. So that's what it is. It's just a pastry chef is someone that understands the balance and the science of sweetness. Yeah, that's what it is.
So, if in your own opinion, what do you think makes a great pastry? I mean, what do you think makes a great pastry chef?
I think experience, patience, a lot of patience, creativity, yes, with some level of creativity, humility, because you're not the only person, you're not the only pastry chef in your field. There are other people who are probably better, but you're also as good in your own field as well. So I think what makes it's those elements, it's just being humble, being creative, being patient.
I also do understand that in every journey there are struggles. So my question to you is, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in this career?
I think it's, I can't really say challenges, because we're in an industry that the pay gap, it takes a long time to get a good salary, right? So to get a good salary, you need a lot of experience, and that little experience that you have, the main look at, okay, you've only been active for a year, so we can only give you for what you've worked at. So you find the challenges I've always found is working with people that see your worth. Because you find that a lot of people can be very, not to say like manipulative, but some people can just, they love the skill, but there's a very reluctance to pay the value. So I think that's always been the difficult part, is building my value, so I can actually have someone to use it as leverage when I'm negotiating. Because that was one of the most important things to do. But okay, this is what I bring to the table. And this is the evidence. So that's always the challenge. It's always just finding ways to build skill and to leverage it.
But along the way, have you ever maybe thought of maybe quitting?
I think it depends on. Because I've been in different phases of the pastry. The thing about my role as a pastry chef over the last winter, since 2014, I enjoy doing it, and it's fun. It's a good creative outlet because you can be inspired by anything. But I think where I can say if I've almost quit is when I was running my own business for 5 years. And running your own thing, it's you're the HR, you're the advertiser, you're the chef, you're prepping, and there are days when the amount of we can put so much work for and few people show up. That's where you really have to be okay, cool. And now I have to think about, okay, any money I get, and I have to find ways to actually save, because you never know how the next thing's going to turn out. So those are always the challenges, the admins, when you're running your own thing.
Okay, moving on to the next question. What lesson have you learned in life of pastry, like in those 18 years or maybe since 2014? What lesson have you learned about the pastry industry?
It's always evolving. And there's always, I think I've learned that always master the basics and learn to actually build on those basics. Because trends will come and go, but you find that there's always waves that you can actually pick and actually apply and then take it as, and when the wave dies down, that what you played around with becomes part of you. You put your own spin on it and you evolve. So that's the most important thing about pastry, is just to continue evolving and seeing what's going on out there. Because you don't want to stay in a bubble and you're doing your own thing, but it's good to see what is happening out there.
Many people describe you as humble and very supportive in the kitchen. But where do those values come from? The values, the humbleness, the supportive, where do you think it all comes from?
It comes from mainly just the experience, the tough experience of where I know where I've come from. Because I think I used to be very arrogant. And think, okay, look, I thought I was always entitled because I went to a good chef school, and there's always like this, like, you know, like people had to listen to what I had to say, but I never actually took time to listen to people. So I think for me, being humble, there's always going to be tough experiences that expose you, like pressure exposes you, and you find that maybe someone that is actually on a lower level, then you steps up and you kind of expose yourself. And it's those moments where you actually sit back and you say, okay, look, you know what, it's not true. Actually take time to learn from not just the top, but people that are under me as well. So that's one thing I've learned just from experiences in the kitchen, from having interactions with different individuals, because not everyone is the same at every place you go to. People are very different.
What is the importance of teamwork in pastry industry, if I could ask?
I mean, it's just the same as any industry. It's just the only difference with pastry is very, you have to stick to a recipe. It's not like a free-flowing, like most sections where, okay, if something's happening, you can tweak it here. Pastry, you bake a cake, you forget to put baking powder, that's it. You can't reverse anything. So it's pretty much just coming together and understanding, okay, the fundamentals, the basics, the recipes, and the systems and planning, as well as the execution. That's the only way a pastry teamwork can actually work.
But you know, there are also like other people, most of the people that I know, who are eager to be in the pastry side of the pastry industry. What advice would you give them?
I think pastry from I started pastry 2007. It's 2026. It's evolved a lot. It's not a one size fits all. Because when I started, it was just, okay, we only do pastry in a hotel, in a cafe, in a bakery. That's it. Now, because of social media, things have advanced that you don't have to be in the kitchen. You can do food editing. In the pastry side, you can just focus on wedding cakes. You can do cakes. You can do ice creams. You can do granolas. You can be a pastry chef, someone that does desserts. You can be a bread baker. You can be someone that makes fudge. Or there's so many avenues you can go to. So you find that like you can actually find where you fit, explore it, package it, and thrive in that area. There's more options now, and there's more resources now. There's more. One of my favorite, I mean, one of the best tools is using the internet. You have social media, because social media is not just YouTube or just running through YouTube videos, there's so many stuff that's out there that's there to learn, that if you use it properly, it can actually help you.
So amongst, besides maybe what can say, maybe social media, in internet, what else motivates you?
I think I love just moving around, walking around in different areas, like taking a stroll down Sea Point or going inside like a neighborhood and there's like little hidden restaurants, or even to be extreme, like there's a man that I worked for called Mike Bassett. He's the executive chef at my yoga restaurant at the Villa Hotel.
Yeah.
He forced me to like, listen, you can create something from what you see and what you hear. So we used to come up with stuff from movies or from music. Like, what about if you take this tone? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? Or, for example, Frozen. One time, the snowman, out of like the parfaits and meringues, and it's finding inspiration everywhere. Because there's so many colors. Like, even talking out to like, I think one time, just a quick story, he put me out of my training service, out of my like training service. Like, let's just go to at home. So we just looked at plates. So he gave me an empty plate, like, what do you see? I was like, no, it's an empty plate. Like, no. He started to visualize. I see this, I see that, I see a parfait, looking at a cake like that, looking at a plate like a canvas. And so I learned to do that. Like, I can see a plate or a design, like, I can do 10,000 things on that. I can plate things in a certain way that's unique. So it's just visualizing. And that's pretty much where my inspiration comes from. It's everywhere, it's all around. It's conversations, it's just even going to memories, like, because you deal with different age demographics, like apple crumble, apple pie. That's always been around for 50 years. How do I make it my own for the old generation or the new generation? So I'm inspired by everything around. That's why I never run out of ideas.
So where do you see yourself, let's just say, in maybe next 5 years?
I'm definitely I'll be running my own spot. Because like I'm very passionate about creating my own cafe, my own bakery, something that's small, not too small, but like that's very communal. Because I love stuff that brings people together.
So if you are maybe to leave a legacy, what legacy would you like to leave on the pastry side on the pastry industry, if you had to leave a legacy?
I think the legacy, it's, like I said, it's this industry, it's predominantly, it's white dominated, right? So if a black person comes out, people take notice. Like many of the black people, because I think it's showing other people that, listen, you can do it also. Because I think there's a mentality that's kind of ingrained in so many people that I can't do what they do. I stay in my own field and just to work. That's it. That's all I can do. But there's more. If that person can do it, it's just taking steps like, okay, what inspires you? But most importantly, understanding how the business works. If you don't understand the business yet, you become vulnerable. So for me, the legacy I want to leave is just to help people see their options and know their value and understand their value.
So if Pastry could speak for you, what story would you tell about yourself in your life?
If Pastry would speak for me,
yes,
you'd say, these guys wild. This Simba the Jojo is a wild cat. I can't keep up with him. Some of the stuff that he comes up with, my goodness, I need a Red Bull to keep up with him. But one thing for sure is if I was pastry speaking about something I stay excited. I stay alive because I know I'm gonna try something new and I'm gonna surprise him all the time. And and what he knows is just that's barely scratched the surface. Barely scratched the surface. There's just a grain in like what Simba knows is just a grain in the ocean, in the sand, and there's so much to explore.
Ladies and gentlemen, behind every beautiful dessert is not just sugar or flour, but years of dedication, discipline, love for craft. Today, we've heard the story of a pastry chef whose passion continues to rise, just like the perfect pastry. Thank you so much, Simba, for joining me. I wish you all the best in life and also in the industry. I wish you all the success. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to follow, like, and join the conversation. Until next time, bye for now.